Having worked in the African public sector, or both public sector and private sector, I've observed that there are few things that the African Public Service needs to take note of when it comes to compensation planning. Now, the first thing or the starting point is actually recruiting for meritocracy. Are we recruiting the right caliber of people, or are we putting the round pegs in square holes, or square pegs in round holes? So that is the first thing. So the starting point is making sure that we recruit the right caliber of people into the public service. The second thing I've seen is that the ability of managers or public service leaders to actually define the roles, what we call the job descriptions, is actually lacking. So you would find people are crisscrossing in terms of roles and duties. So duty roles, jobs are not clearly defined, which tells me that probably the managers themselves do not know how to actually define these roles. Now, the other challenge I've seen with the African Public Service is that we don't hunt for talent, we settle for mediocre people. We do not try to find who is the best to do this. Okay. For instance, I know Britain has used several expatriates in trying to manage the financial services, okay, from the central bank to various financial sectors. And wherever the talent is, they go and hunt for it. But is Africans, Africans are not able to do that. Most public services are contained with the sort of human resource that is available at the time. But we should go ahead and hunt wherever the talent is to improve the service. Now, another thing is the promotions. So people work for several years and they are never promoted. And the reason they are not promoted is that their performance is not being assessed. So we public service leaders do not know whether people are performing or they are not performing, because there is no measurement, there is no yardstick for measurement, there are no targets. People come to work and go back home in the evening, and that is coming to work, that is performance, or that is working. So assessing performance is one other thing that is lacking, and that is why promotions are distorted. And there's so much complexity associated with promotions in African public services. Now, the other thing also I've observed is motivation. There is no motivation as far as public service is concerned. Working environment is poor. There are no working tools, there are no computers, there are no internet to work with. Furniture is poor, housing is poor. So everything is poor. So there is no motivation. So how can we talk about compensation if basic things that are needed to conduct or to perform the role is not there? You go to offices of public service leaders or organizations, and they don't have a common computer, they don't have printers, they don't have internet, they don't have many things that makes working environment very enjoyable. The last thing is the pension. You see, everybody works for pension. To have some gain at the end of the day. And when they become very old and they cannot be part of the organization, they need to be compensated. So pension is very important. And the pension scheme in many African countries needs to be really looked at and being analyzed. And I think that that is very important, because at the end of the day, if the public servant has worked for probably 20 years, 30 years, and he goes back home and can't feed himself, and that is a shame.